This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at WZRD today for an interview two, well, first, our special guest is Nonkululeko Kunene Adumeteyl. Also, for short, we'll just call you Nonku if you don't mind. And she is the author of I Celebrate My Voice. And our co-host is Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. How are you today?
Doing great, thank you. How are you? Thank you for having me.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much. So have I, could you pronounce your name for us, like the whole name, and then eventually I'll learn it.
Sounds good. So my full name is Nonkululeko Kunene Adumeteyl, and I go by Nonku.
No,
That's a
Nonku.
little bit easier. Nonku.
Nonku. Awesome.
Yes.
Yes, yes. We no. And how are you today, Bill?
Doing well. It's a great day today. Happy Monday to you and to
Yes, to our wizard listeners. So, Nonku, we know that you wrote two children's books, but your latest is I Celebrate My Voice, and we read so much about how everything came together from your childhood to inspire you to inspire children with your book. So first of all, why don't we begin at the beginning? What was your childhood like growing up in Swaziland or Eswatini, and how did that affect your decision to go into healthcare and also into writing?
Yes. Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here today. So my childhood in Eswatini, formerly called Swaziland, was very different. I grew up in a very big farm, a big farm in rural parts of Eswatini, and life was simple. You know, we didn't have much. It was very humble beginnings. We had different animals in the farm that we read, but our life was very different. We didn't have a water system, so we had to walk miles to get water every day. We washed clothes in the river, so we had to walk miles to wash our clothes on the weekends, our uniforms and all those things during the weekend. And we're far from school, and so we walked a lot of miles. And I think when you walk and you're always going to something, it forces you to reflect and think about the life you want to do. And for me, I'm a dreamer. And so it made me dream about the life I wanted for myself. And looking around me, right, everybody was similar in the kind of like the class that we have, right? We had a lot of health disparities. We had a lot of health issues. We didn't have a hospital close by. And my father was very sick growing up. He had a lot of chronic conditions. And so one thing that inspired me to be in healthcare, which is still my dream, was to go to America and be a doctor and go back home and build a big hospital in my village that can help people. So I've always been a dreamer. Life has its own path, along the way. I've changed my career path. I'm doing a lot of different things. I'm still in healthcare. But I think when you grow up in a place where you see a lot of things around you, right? You always want to be the solution around those things. You always think about different ways to make it better. I didn't grow up having a book, and now I'm a children's book author, and I want to have children in rural villages across the country, across the world, not to grow up without books. That's one of my missions. And so I think growing up in Eswatini gave me a perspective in life. There were some challenges. I faced a lot of trauma in the process, but it really helps you find a way to make solutions to make things better, not just for yourself, but for others. Because when you build a community, you change the perspective of everybody, right? The next person will do the same thing. And that's how we make a change in this world. And so, yeah, that was a long answer, but that was my upbringing in a nutshell.
Do you still remember how old you were when you decided that you had to make a difference?
Oh God. I don't remember exactly how old I was, but it was a very different child, to put in. I was I was I was driven, I think, when I faced my trauma as a child, it just pushed me to really to focus on books, to learn more things. I remember as a child, I was in science fairs. I was always thinking and doing different things. I even had a little school at home, like when we, I don't know how old I was, honestly, maybe 11, 12. But I remember like saving my money, my pocket money that I have. And I used to sell popcorn. That's how actually I got some money too. I will sell popcorn and do little businesses on the side while I'm at school to save money. And I bought little like chalkboards, crayons, and I will have the kids in the village during the off season, like when the school is out, and I will teach them different things. I will like have little school. I was always driven to really help others. I don't know the age, but I know I must have been very, very young, because I did a lot of things at a very young age, I think.
Well, I guess that you saw what could have helped you a little bit more, and then you wanted to provide that to the village children.
Yes.
Yeah. So when you did popcorn, was that the corn, some of the corn that was grown on your farm, and then you popped that and sold it.
Yeah, no, actually I bought that one because it was a little different, like how they make it. But we did grow maize, corn, for different things. But no, I'll buy that one because it was already in like the suckles that you can pop.
Okay.
Yeah, but it was just one of the things that I started doing. This was even before I was in high school. So before I was 13 years old, I remember I would just buy a little candy, like I'll save money, buy some candy, and at lunchtime at school, I'll be selling those things just to like to my classmates, just to save up the money. And I use the money for like for different things. But I think for the most part, I remember like buying little chalk, like the chalkboards, but the very small ones where the kids can write. And I will like buy little things like crayons and pencils and just different things. I think I was always driven to build communities. It's my passion, even now, to build others and to build communities. And I think it makes sense why I am today, right? Because I think I always have that mindset about building others, building yourself, but also really building others, because we are who we are because of others.
Right.
Yeah.
When you were being a little small business person, were there other classmates or other children that were like you that were also trying to sell things to make a little more money?
Yeah, I think there was a couple of others, that did that as well. But yeah, because I even sold it, we used to ride a bus when we went to school. So we'll walk about a couple of miles to the bus stop, and then we'll be in this bus. Like, actually, it's in my new book. Like I have a bus, illustrated, similar bus that we used to ride when we would go to school. So the buses were very packed, very, very packed. And so there were people in there. So I start selling popcorn and whatever candy I have in the bus. Like I'll be just like saying, I have popcorn, like I have a big bag. And so sometimes people will actually support me from that bus before I even got to school. But I saw a couple of other kids who used to do it. It was kind of fun.
Well, I'm sure that at that time, kids, they have a sweet tooth anyway, but being so bored and waiting for the bus, of course you want snacks. It's just that hopefully the kids had money to pay you for the snacks.
Exactly. It was very reasonable. I don't think it was anything crazy. It was very reasonable. It was affordable from a normal pocket money standpoint. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. You knew your market.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, you seem to have your act together. And
it seems like we have a lot in common.
Bill? Okay.
It seems like we have a lot in common. When you walk, you gather your thoughts and you dream and you utilize it to think with the fresh air. I do that as well. You sold candy. In school, I did that as kind of like my first kind of business.
How cool.
And you're an author. and you're an
Yes.
author, and you care about the children. I had an opportunity to read your book this morning.
Oh, how exciting.
I celebrate my skin, and it was
Mm.
a beautiful book. I do the art was wonderful. The the little puzzles and coloring and lessons in the back were excellent. It's contemporary and traditional. The whole book is. It's a mixture between.
Bill, you're kind of buffering. Usually,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, Nang, oh, hopefully you have a buffered as well, Nonku. Oh my goodness. Anyway,
No, I just took off my Wi-Fi just to make sure that I'm easily connected. I think sometimes when you're on the Wi-Fi, it can be unstable. Can you still hear me okay?
yes, I can. Yes,
Perfect.
definitely.
Okay.
Bill, are you back?
I'm here. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm having some definite internet issues. I'm gonna have to move to another room. But I was just mentioning how we have we're having problems. I'm gonna reconnect with you in a couple of minutes.
Okay.
Okay, that sounds good.
Well, meanwhile, Nonku, when you had your act together, you saw what was needed and then how you could help the kids and the community. However, you were still you spoke of how you wanted to hide your skin when you were growing up. It doesn't kind of connect with the that kind of wanting to hide what you are, because you were such a beautiful child, such a beautiful mind. What made you want to hide your skin when you were growing up?
Yes, it's a lot of things. I think the other thing too was, as a child, I went through some trauma. It was very hard. I think I started facing this trauma as early as 6 or 7 years old. I was very young, and it really shaped my perspective about who I am, right, and my value in this world, and really what I have to contribute. But I think it also somehow, I was always there for others. Like I think I always think about my dad, who is my hero. He was a very selfless person. He was always there for others, for people, right? And for me, I channel my energy, like my insecurities, to be there for others, to be the light for others, right? But not addressing, I was a child, of course, I don't know how to address things, but not addressing like my insecurities, what I was feeling. And honestly, I didn't even realize this until just more recently, right? When I started to write my books. I'm always positive, I'm always a happy person, but I was very self-conscious, and like when I say like I wanted to hide my skin, sometimes like I didn't even like to wear short sleeves or like skirts, right? Because when you go through trauma as a child, you feel like you blame yourself and you feel like it's a mark on your skin. I felt like it was a mark on my skin that everybody will know that I've gone through trauma, or right, I'm damaged, or whatever that kind of stereotype that we have around that. And so you create a limiting belief about who you are. And even though for me, I was very driven, I dreamed to be in a better place. I dreamed to be out of poverty for my family. Like I made that to be my focal point and my focus. And, even though I felt insecure about who I was, I had a purpose, I had a mission in my head that I wanted to focus on. And that really what drove me, that what inspired me to be where I am, honestly. And I was a hard worker. I'm not gonna lie. I was a hard worker. I did a lot of things, and I was everywhere because I just wanted to to create a better narrative for my family, to be out of poverty, to have a different life. And, you know, when I look back and think about it now, it's amazing how, you know, how people channel their thoughts and channel their things. And for me, I channeled them internally, but I had it fuel me to come out of the situation, to come out of poverty, you know. And I had a loving family, you know, and life was very, you know, good. We're happy. Like my dad always made sure that we are happy with what we have. We're grateful with what we have, you know. But sometimes, right, when you go through something, it's an internal battle, right? There's always an external force and there's always an internal battle. And I had a lot of those internal battles, which I didn't realize how much of an impact they had on me until I actually addressed them, until I really worked on unraveling them. And I say, oh my God, you know, like just little things, you know. And it's amazing how when you don't deal with something, how it affects you, even though you don't think it's affecting you, but it is actually affecting you. So that was my situation. And yeah, I think it was very different, but it's what got me to where I am today, you know. And I trust the timing of my life. I trust the timing of everything. And so I'm just grateful for that journey. And I'm grateful that I'm healing, I am addressing it, and I am inspiring others to do the same. Yeah.
Did you have anybody helping you overcome the trauma? Because it seems as if, you know, you are very strong in overcoming it. But did you have any help? Because
you know,
yeah.
I would say what propelled me to address it and overcome it was losing my father. You know, I think that pain of losing him was the hardest thing. It was the hardest thing. And the scariest thing I faced in my life. And so facing the scariest thing in my life, it felt like anything else was not as scary, right? Mm-hmm. And so I think really facing that immense pain of losing him pushed me to address and really uncover the basis of it. But I was a mess, you know, to your question. I remember in 2018, I went to this seminar. It was like a weekend long. It was a weekend long seminar retreat from Pathways Life, Pathways Ways of Life. It's like a seminar that they do, like Sue and other people. Like I think it's Pathways Living, and it really just addresses a lot of things about building yourself and understanding who you are. And for me, it was interesting because it was like dealing with grief. It was really, I went there for grief, right? Because it was a different territory. I can't explain it, you know, when you lose a parent and somebody who you look up to. For me, my father, I was in a different place. And I was a new mom at that time. My son was 6 months old. And so I was I was all over. I was all these emotions. And I went there to just help grieve, you know, like how can I be better? How can I feel better? How do I deal with this loss? And it was very hard. And I think though, as I was addressing the loss, you know, throughout this process, I did activities. It was meditation. It was different things that this program had. It was like a whole weekend retreat. Honestly, it unraveled a lot of the trauma. It unraveled a lot of things that I never thought of or addressed in a long, long, long time. And that's when my healing journey began, honestly. I think from then I started writing. Writing was my outlet. I started writing a lot about everything, right? About what I was feeling, what my trauma, you know, felt like, what I should do to like help address it. Like, right, I just started writing, and I started writing messages to myself too, like, right, empowering myself that I am enough, you know, I need to celebrate who I am and 100% celebrate my voice, celebrate who I am. So writing also helped me because I was able to let out a lot of what is built in for 20 plus years in my heart, in my mind, and around me. And it was affecting me. And I didn't realize it just how much until I just addressed it. And so it's been a journey. A lot of people, my family has been such a stronghold. My husband, throughout this process, my family, my friends, it was just a lot. It was a community that helped me really to be who I am today, because I had to share, I had to talk about it. I had to talk about what I was going through, what I was feeling, and everything around me helped me to heal honestly. And I'm grateful. I'm grateful to have this amazing support system. My children, my son, my goodness, I think I got so much strength from him. I remember like only 6 months old, but he was my strength. Like I just remember for like after my father passed away, I traveled back to Africa with him, and I was carrying him, I was carrying him on a sling every day as we were preparing all the proceedings for my dad. And he was just my strength. I just didn't know how much strength I had in me. But every morning looking at him and just seeing this life, it was weird, right? Like a life gone, a life born. It was all strength. Everything around me, honestly, was my strength and my support. And I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful. Yeah.
So your son seems to be very calm. Was your father also a very calm man?
He was a very calm person. We joke about this. He didn't even laugh that much. Some days he will laugh. He will like mostly smile, when something is very funny. He will like really have a big, nice grin and smile, and there's some few days when he would just crack up and just ha 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 ha, ha laugh. He was a very calm guy who, had a vision. We think about it now, with my sisters, think about it like how, even from his humble beginnings, he was walk, he had a vision about the world, about life, and about everything. And his lessons and his wisdom was just out of this world amazing. And I'm hoping one day I'll write a book about him, but yeah, he was very calm. I definitely say that. And I have a lot of respect for him and his life and his legacy, everything he stands for, honestly. I think it's where it shows in how we live our lives. And yeah, it's an amazing man.
Were you able to get a lot of the cultural heritage? Did you learn a lot about that from your father as well?
Yes. From my father and mom, we learn a lot about humility. Growing up in the farm, right? Our culture and our heritage is kind of built into our way of lives, right? Like the way we do things. And we learn a lot. I want to, I intentionally, I know Bill was talking about my book, how, the illustrations, I intentionally, for my first book, I Celebrate My Skin, I intentionally, put in a lot of pieces of culture and, and language, because I want to tell that story, to my children, but to all children about the way of life, right? In Africa. And I did learn a lot from them. I'm still learning. I feel like my life was very different because I did leave my country when I was 16 years old. I left my country to finish high school in Canada. And so from there, I finished high school and then I came to America after that. I feel like my growing up has been very different, right? I am from Southern, I grew up there, but when I left alone to move to a foreign country, you learn different things, you create your own culture, you mix different things, right? And so it's been a journey. I think my culture is influenced by so many things, but at the core of it, the principles of my culture, drives and really molds how I see the world and what I believe in, and in the humanity and all the things that builds us as a community. And yeah.
So is that what inspired you to write the children's books? I Celebrate My Skin and I Celebrate My Voice, because you wanted to bring that into your work and then share it so that others could benefit from it.
Yes, that brought, but also the healing part, right? As I was going through everything, my son, I wanted my children to see themselves in books, to love themselves, right? I spent over 20 plus years to not fully embracing myself, even though I was positive and I was always a happy person, I didn't 100% celebrated who I am. And I want them waste the time, right? I want them to, from an early age, to grow up knowing that they are enough and they are beautiful, they are smart, just the way they are. And so, when everything kind of came in, I wanted to write the messages for them to say, my children, you are enough, you are beautiful. And I wanted them to see themselves in the books. And so with the realistic pictures, seeing them running around, I want them to experience that, but not just them, right? With other children, diverse children around the world together, right? Because that's how children think about, like, their friendship, their world is, they celebrate who they are. So we want to build those notions for children to know that they are enough, they're perfect just the way they are, but build it from an early age so that when they go older and they face different things, hardships in their lives, they have a good base of who they are. And they're not wondering about that. Like, they know who they are. And I wanted my children to know that. And so that's when I started. And the more I started, the more I researched, right? I learned more about like literature in America, like there's disparities, right? In representation, different cultures are not represented in the books, like, right? The statistics just came out for 2021. Only 13% of children's books, show Black, minority kids, Asian, indigenous people. It's even lower than that, right? There's a lot of gaps. There's a lot of work that needs to be done. So the more I learned about what's around, I was like, oh boy, I guess I am not stopping writing. I am gonna write more and more books to make sure that every child is represented in a children's book.
So with all this diversity in your books and with all these life experiences and everything that you're doing, did it take you a long time? Did it flow very well?
Yeah.
You have a lot of like conflicting ideas in your head in the creative process. Did you do the art as well as the writing, as well as the little lessons in the back of the book?
Yes.
How did that all come together, the creative process?
Yes. So the process for me was very, so I, as I mentioned, like, right, as I was healing, I was writing a lot. I had a lot of things. I mean, I wrote, a biography, like I wrote 3 chapters. I mean, I wrote a lot of stuff within a span of a week. I wrote a lot of content. But then as I was thinking about it, right, like the ideas, I'm more of an idea person. I was like, I never felt comfortable in my own skin, right? Mostly because of the trauma that I face. But I know that just our skin color, right, it does differentiate the equity. It does affect a lot of things. And I just wanted to start with that book because I thought it was important. So when I started writing, it changed. My first draft is very different than what I published. I think my first draft was more of a rhyming story. It was very different. And I had different ideas, like, for skin color. At some point I wanted to like use foods to show like the different colors. It does take a while, when you kind of formulate the idea, to think about different ways to make the words and everything connect. But for me, once I'm in the experience, it's really a part of me, when you write a book. And so once I start writing, the ideas just keep coming. Like, I don't know if you had a chance to read my second book, like I remember like one of the lines that I have on my second book, Celebrating Your Voice. I was working at Northwestern at that point, and I was just pulling up, on like one of the streets to drop off my kids at daycare before I get to school. And then just poof, like a tree, like a tree changes the season. So does our voice. Like all these ideas, I was like, oh my God. And then I write on my iPhone, I record, so I got my recorder and I just recorded the line. And then I just like continue my day. So I think inspiration comes in different ways. And then you have to come up with all the ideas. So for me, I always have to be ready to write, like I have either my phone. I usually use my phone because I always have my phone. So I have on my phone with me, or my recorder, and I just bring it in. If something comes up and I'm like, the thought, or Post-its. I have Post-it notes everywhere. So if I don't have anything else, I'll have a Post-it and I'll put it down. So I think it's all over the place, but the big thing for me is write when the idea comes in. You write it down and then you formulate it when you're ready to put a book together. and the editing process, the drawings. For the first book, I was very, very specific because I wanted to show an African childhood. You know, you can see like the kids are always outside, playing outside. I didn't draw the book, but I designed the ideas, right? I will tell my illustrator, okay, let's have 5 children outside in the rainbow. You know, like I think the very first page, actually, it's a game reserve back home, like the scenery, like the mountains. So I was like, you know, in something like this, like, you know, like this game reserve in Lilwane, and have a rainbow, have the mountain, and then have different kids, right? Like, and then she'll come up with the idea. I'm like, okay, yeah, this looks good. Let's add this, let's add this. So it was very much part of that design process to make sure to like have it provide a perspective, a different perspective that I want kids to be curious about, learn about, and get a little taste of Africa as they're learning to love and embrace who they are as well. Yeah.
Well, you spent about 20 years not appreciating what who you are, but then you had this like an epiphany, and then you realized how important and precious you are, and you wanted to share that with the children. So how did that epiphany come about, and could you just tell us a little bit more about that nugget of wisdom that you have to share with the children?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it an epiphany. It's a progression, right? As you grow. So think about this. I'm 16 years old. I am leaving my country alone for the first time. I am boarding a plane all the way to Canada, a very cold country, right? From Southern Africa to Canada. And I mean, I was driven, like all of those experiences, like putting yourself, it's more like, I truly believe that our lives, I said this earlier on, like we're exactly where we need to be at any given point in our lives. And all of those experiences or all those moments shape us and help us to be in our purpose, right? I didn't celebrate myself quite, but actually, right, I was very shy. I was a very shy person throughout my high school. And I didn't speak much, but that experience of traveling, leaving my country alone, I remember walking in Heathrow with my blanket, a green blanket that we bought from the market, and seeing these big buildings, like, right, this world of opportunities, possibilities. And I'm 16 years old, right? I'm alone here. I have to figure out how to get to the next place. And that little experience, right, will teach you something about yourself. It just teaches just how strong you are, just how adaptable you are. And so as I'm going through this experience, like coming to Canada, for the first time, I'm seeing snow at 16, right? I'm touching snow, like this big white thing, it's cold. And then I'm learning to skate, I have my friends help me to skate, and I'm like flying in the ice. I mean, like the joy of skating, I had that in my voice, in my new book, like the joy of skating, right? You see different perspectives, like your brain, right? You learn about different things about who you are. And so it just kind of morphs, So I wouldn't even say it's like one event, but I think different experiences, different things in life that the first time I tasted whatever food that I tasted in Canada, right? Like the fancy food or whatever it must have been, my taste bud experiencing that food, like all of those experiences, right? They just somehow build you to something. You think about life differently, you see things differently. That exposure, that knowledge, learning French, just seeing different people. And the college I was in, it was like 200 students from 50 different countries around the world. Just imagine, like, one student from each of those countries, and they come together, we become friends, we learn from each other, we learn empathy, right? We're young, we're all away from home, and it's like a whole different experience. And so all of those things, when they come together, right, they help you see a lot about who you are, who you can be, what you can accomplish. And so I think everything was really building up to that possibility, right? So here I am, I'm in Canada, right? And by the way, my parents couldn't even afford that. Like, they haven't been to anywhere, right? This is my first time. So I'm experiencing this world. The first time I go home, I'm like a completely different person. I'm speaking Canadian English, whatever that might be, right? But like, I moved from Canada, I got a scholarship, I moved to college, I come here in America, different experiences, different challenges, different experiences. But it's kind of all building up to who I need to be, And first of all, actually, when I was in Canada, I started a gospel choir. My friend and I started a gospel choir, and we're teaching people our languages, which was fun. But I think you start to see your potential and who you can be, what's out there for you. And I think for me, those little experiences really, it was like all building up to really where I am today, But of course, my trigger point was losing my father, right? And then everything else was like, oh my goodness, I need to heal. I need to go through this process, but all little experiences, I think it kind of built me up to where I am today. And when I look back, I see how I could have done things differently, but, again, I'm grateful, right? Because they all kind of pushed me to be where I am today, to be speaking with you today, to be meeting with you. It's all part of the plan, and I am just embracing it. I am flowing with it. I am learning through it, and I'm growing, and I'm hoping I'm inspiring and touching somebody to do the same, to embrace who they are and celebrate their journeys and their stories. And yeah.
This is WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM. And we have with us at the WZRD, we are interviewing Nonku. You pronounce your whole name.
Nonku Kunene Adumeteyl.
Okay, awesome. Author of our new book, I Celebrate My Voice. And we also have our co-host, Bill Morton, president of the Rogers Park Chamber of Commerce. So, Nonku, how you overcame your your struggles to deal with grief, and that helped you with becoming who you are. It seemed as if you had a lot of friends in Canada. First of all, were there a lot of immigrants like yourself, or were your friends mostly students that actually grew up in Canada?
Yeah, no, it was, the majority of the students were from America and Canada, but the rest, maybe like 50, I would say, total, but the rest were like different students from around the world. Every country you can imagine. I met everybody. Like now we're going with Ukraine. I know somebody from Ukraine. I know somebody from Russia. I know somebody from Israel, from Egypt, from Burma, from all over the world, any country you can think of. I met somebody from that, from Pearson College. And so it was a very interesting, unique community, right? Where we came together and share our differences and embraced who we were, right? Kind of like really thinking about, we had this concept called One World, where all of us come from all these different parts of the countries, part of the world. And we come into this college, we are just one world, right? We are the leaders, we were the future leaders, right? We are the ones who are gonna think and talk and create and critically think about what can we do to make this world a better place. And it was an amazing experience for me. I learned a lot about who I am, about others, about the world, different countries, different languages, and we were 16, right? 15, 16. Isn't that amazing? It was such an experience for sure.
It seems as if you're also trying to address racial equity, but it seems as if you had a lot of friends. You didn't really maybe experience that much of discrimination, but you realize that that's important. So how did the two come together, addressing racial inequity and you're wanting to help people be the best person that they are?
I know. I think the important, it starts with you, right? I think if I'm going to spread positive energy, if I'm going to spread kindness, respect for one another, a sense of humanity, if I'm going to spread that, right, I have to feel something for myself. I have to be kind to myself. I have to love myself. And so, honestly, I truly believe that this journey starts with us, starts with being comfortable in who you are, being comfortable in your strengths, in your shortcomings, being comfortable in your journey, in your experience. Because when you are able to be empathic and understand what others may be going through. And so when you talk about racial inequalities, unfortunately, for me, growing up in Africa, right, I was always a majority, not a minority. But then coming to America, it's a very different, it's a very diverse country, but there's very different opinions, different perspectives about racial, right, like inequalities. And, there's all these different issues that we need to address. And I thought for me, it was very important to address it because I am raising my children in America. I didn't grow up here, right? I grew up part of it. I mean, now I kind of grew up here, right? But like, I have a different perspective, when my children go to school, they are the minority, right? I was the majority in my school. So I want to make sure that I have the conversations. I think the biggest thing that my books are addressing and doing is to inspire and ignite the conversations. Let's talk, let's have the conversations about race, right? It's not about always bad or good or whatever. It's just having conversations, having ongoing conversations so that our children are comfortable in talking about racial inequalities. They understand, but they're having the conversations. And so I wanted to write these books to start the conversations for parents. Like, Bill, you mentioned the activities in the book at the back of, they're all conversation starters, right? Like you have those different skin tone, matching game, and you have the rainbow activities that I have in my coloring and activity books. It's all to have conversations about who am I? Who is the other person? How do we connect, right? We are all humans, it's humanity. So having them understand that and really having the conversations. And so they're not afraid when they go in the grocery store, they see somebody different from them. We should ask, we should talk. You should ask about these things because that's how we learn and grow. And so that's really for me the biggest thing. Having conversations about race, having conversations about inequalities, having conversations about individuality, having conversations about who we are, why we matter just the way we are, embracing that. And I think it's all part of really of being purposeful. Like, you can't have a purpose in life if you don't embrace and understand who you are and how you fit in this world, and connecting the dots, having the conversations. And that's my whole thing, and that's my inspiration. Yeah.
Did you do any beta tests with your activities? Did you have any children try them out and see, maybe to tweak them?
I know my children are my beta testers, testers. I have toddlers, and so it's a perfect age, for this. Like, they know the books in and out before they even come out because I read to them. Like my son is my biggest fan. He will tell you all my books, what they are about, and he will go on detail why it's important to read mommy's books. But they are my beta testers, right? I have my nieces and nephews. When you look at my book, the children, actually, they're part of my family, some of them. My niece is there, my nephew is there, my 2 children are also part of that, and then some neighbors. And so I wanted to make it more real so that actually children recognize themselves. I think, everybody, my son's kids, when they bought his friends, when they bought the book, they were like, this is me, right? They were like, really, they recognize and they relate with the books. And yeah, they are my beta testers. I guess my kids, my family, my nephews, and my friends' kids.
Wow, you're so lucky to get the illustrator to do the avatars of those children, and also incorporate their personalities into the characters as well.
Yes, it's honestly an honor, and I think it's the best way to do these books because it empowers them, and I see the difference it's making in their lives, and that just warms my heart. Yeah.
Could you share with us how you found your illustrator? Was it the publishing company, or was it some? How did you connect?
I interviewed a lot. I interviewed a lot of illustrators. So when I started getting this book ready, I wanted to make sure that I wanted more realistic, right? Like how the book is. And I interviewed a lot of illustrators. I connected them through online, like there's Upwork, there's Fiverr, there's different areas like there's Ritzy, there's all these different areas where you can actually connect with different illustrators, editors, and different people in the writing community. So I use all those avenues, interviewed a lot of people. And at the end of the day, my illustrator I connected with her because I wanted to share a little bit of a third world country growing up perspective. And I just felt like, she's in India, and I just felt like the way of life, that they have, she will relate to that. And also the biggest thing that I wanted to show was like, when I asked her, like, for example, I was like, okay, for this page, like there's this page where the kids are in the water, right? Because I learned how to swim in a river, right? And so I was like, okay, how about we have kids playing in the water, like really like doing something in the water, like they're fetching water. Like I just kind of explained. She was like, really? I was like, yeah. And so I told the story. I was like, like we used to go, we do that laundry in the river, right? We like washed our clothes in the river, and we went swimming in the river on the weekends. And so, like being in the water, in the river is the big part. And I want to share something, like that. She was like, oh yeah. Like I feel like, they will understand, like, right. And they were able to really depict a nice image of that because they have maybe similar shared experiences of they've seen something, close to what I'm talking about. And so it was just like it's a good working relationship, honestly. And I'm grateful to have her. And I think she's able to bring my books alive and just how she's drawing and how she puts everything into perspective. So yeah, I'm excited. She's doing all my books. She's hooked with me for a long, long, long time.
So when you go to parent-teacher conferences, you must have a lot to contribute then because you have all this insight.
I mean, I share a lot of things. Sometimes, how I said I'm shy. Sometimes I can be shy. I've been told that I can be modest. I do sometimes take a back seat and just kind of observe, but I do have a lot to share. I just finished a reading actually at my son's school in Rogers Park, which was fun. I'm always sharing a little bit of an experience. And I think also my children are learning from that, honestly. I think they're learning about different things, leadership, but just sharing your story and owning up to your story. And I think we're all going to come from different backgrounds, from different stories. And it's okay. I think that's what makes us who we are. And that's the beauty of diversity, right? We come with our own stories and come together. So yeah, I do love to share my story, and I empower everybody to share their story because we all have a story to share. So why not, right? Let's learn from each other.
And Rogers Park is, one of the most diverse neighborhoods, communities in the entire city of Chicago, if not throughout the United States. So it's a wonderful place to be, especially when you're authoring, you're writing about this kind of diversity content, inclusiveness, and for children ages 2 to 8. I think it's a wonderful thing. And Mary Kay is your illustrator, correct?
Yes, Mary Kay Beeswas.
And have you used Mary Kay for all of your books?
Yes, my second book she did for the coloring book. So for the second book, actually, I did 2 coloring books. I have one coloring book about celebrating music, and then I have another one just like an affirmation coloring book, kind of coming from the voice. So I had to hire one illustrator for the celebration music because she couldn't do all of them. Like we didn't have time to kind of squeeze everything. But yes, Mary does all my books. She does all my illustrations, and I think she's used to my style of working, and how we have a good relationship going. And so for now, I just want to keep her with all my books because I do like the really realistic look of it, because I think children should see themselves. It's good to have different, elements. I just like the realistics because it really drives the message home of seeing yourself, literally seeing yourself exactly how you look. Yeah.
And that goes right along with the activity about the skin tones.
Yes.
And I thought that was one of the more innovative activities in the back of the book. That's the one that intrigued me the most. I actually had to put my hand up to the skin tones because there's a lot of variations in between, and I'm kind of in between 2 of them, I guess. But how did you come up with the activities?
Yeah. So for that one, I I was always thinking, and of course I have like a lot of other friends. There's one good friend that I consult with a lot about this thing. She used to be a teacher. I'm not a teacher by background. And so I'm an IT science geek person, but like, I didn't want just to have a coloring book or an activity, right? That, you just color, it's just, that's, I wanted something that will help kids think, So it took a while, like it took a while to come to the skin tone matching game. I think I did different things and I was like, oh, yes, we could do skin tone matching, right? Like, I don't know how that came about, but it was just like really brainstorming, bouncing different ideas in terms of what can we create that can help kids think. And my son too, right? When he was 2.5, when this book came out, almost 3. And he would tell me, yeah, my friend is this color, right? Like it just it was engaging beyond just I'm seeing blobs of colors, right? I'm seeing different skin tones. One of them looks like mine, but they're all very different. This is the different variations that we have around the world. And, so like, recognizing different people and connecting them. Oh, my friend is this color. I am this color. This other friend is this color, right? Like just, I wanted to have meaningful conversations and meaningful things. And so even the coloring book, like the activity book itself, it took me a long, long time to have it because, again, I wanted to like really think about the activities that I have in there. Like I just did, let me see if I even have it. I just did an activity with the school, like a rainbow, right? A rainbow activity, like color one rainbow, one color one rainbow, multiple colors. And which do you like and why, right? Let's talk about that, so let's look around ourselves, like our different skin. We're all very different, like a rainbow, but we're beautiful when they come together. Like things that are kind of relatable, but that will really help them grasp this concept and remember like the different ways, not just right coloring. So I like that because I think conversation, taking things that are foundation, build a foundation that was going to help them for a long time. Yeah. Bill, I'm glad that you like those.
I do, and it's intriguing for all ages.
Yes.
That one right there.
Yeah, I'm glad. That's very good feedback. I'm so happy to hear.
How did you learn to speak in a child's voice and speak to the heart of a child? Was it through speaking with your own kids, or was it more to that?
My inner child, honestly. I think, all of these books are messages to myself as well. And it was just like messages that I wanted to, as a child, what would I want to know about myself, right? I talked about how self-conscious I was and all those things, so I think that helped me. But also like finding ways. I think as a writer, like you take some classes, you learn a lot of different things, I need to take more classes too. But I think it's a skill that you learn, and then of course, you have editors, you partner with other people, you have writing communities, that they critique your work, they provide suggestions, they provide different ways of looking at things, right? And so like how I was saying, I started with food, kind of like talking about food. And I was like, I don't know about food, right? It took me a while. And then the Colors of the World came about, the crayons. And so I was like, maybe let me just call them as they are, like, right? The colors of the world. We have almond, we have sand, we have peach, we have all these different colors, So I just went with that, so it takes a while. Like, I think you're always finding a way to improve on that. I think when you read my new book, you will see how different it is. But, it's like you learn and grow in the process. And I think it's going to take time. And but you just have to give it the time to learn and grow. Yeah.
How does your day job tie into your writing?
My day job is very separate. I love what I do. Honestly, I'm grateful to be where I am. So I'm a principal. I'm a data lead. I've been in data analytics most of my career. I'm a public health professional with the biostatistics and epidemiology background. And I know writing is very different from that. And my day job, I do, for like the writing part, it's mostly like at night, I think when the kids sleep for me, and most of the weekends, that's when I actually usually write my drafts. I think mostly it's like always happens when I take my kids for a nap, and then I'm laying there, they are falling asleep, and I'm just laying there thinking, and then the idea starts flowing. And so I usually have my phone now, because then I'll just sometimes lay there and then just like start writing, and I'm just like writing. And so it's very separate, because it is very separate things. But I think what I do in my role also, it's kind of tied in a little bit, right? Because I work in data, and I think the biggest thing I'm passionate about is how do we leverage data analytics to understand disparities, healthcare disparities, to bridge healthcare gaps, right? To make it meaningful. I think in all of those things, I share my background too. I started doing geographic information systems, GIS, for that same reason, because I wanted to understand, I know the environment where we live in influences our health outcomes, right? How do we map that? How do we make sure our data story tells the right story to make sure we reach the right people to help them? And so it is connected, which is why I love it and I'm passionate about it, but it is a separate thing. And but I think it all kind of connects to who I am, right? I think it completes my mission, my purpose that I have and that I want to accomplish as well.
What about taking care of your family? How does that tie into your writing as well?
I know. I mean, I'm not a full-time writer, so I think for the writing, like I probably won't be, like I can't publish a book this year, for example, right? Because I have to focus on a lot of things, work, family, and everything, but I think for me, like writing is telling my story in a way. And so when an inspiration comes, I write. I just finished my draft, but it's very quick because it's children's books. I finished my third book draft over the weekend, like a few months back, and I just have it sitting there, and at some point I'll start kind of teasing it up and then kind of thinking about a title and getting it. But family life is very important. Family is one of the things that is very important to me. So I want to make sure that I am present, with my family, and I spend time with them. I think one thing that's very important in life is, right, we have a lot of things. We're very busy. I think in America, Chicago, right? When I first moved here, I'll tell you a joke. When I first moved here, I had a job downtown. And I have, coming from Missouri, we didn't have public transport. So this was the first time kind of experience, but Rogers Park is nicely located. And so we'll take a train or the red line. I'll go downtown to my job every day, and I will come out of the train every morning. I mean, everybody will come out running, chasing. I'm just like, like, right? Like at first I was like, why is everybody rushing? Why is everybody, right? And then like, lo and behold, even though I'm not rushing for time, when I come out of the train too now, I started running out of the train and just like walking fast, until I get to work, because it was the culture around you. I don't know why I was telling the story. I feel like I just lost my thought process. But end of the day, I think it's very important to be present. There's always things around us that influence us. It's a lot. It's just a lot. Like a lot is happening around us, in the world, that influences us, that shapes us, that helps, that just kind of changes our perspective and how we think. And it's very easy to lose track of things, right? Like as a writer, for me, right, self-published, I have to promote myself on all social media, all these different things, so I make sure that I have time, like dinner time or whatever time, where I'm just present with my family, and we have moments where we talk, no TV, no phones, and we're just present with each other. And I try to make those moments and create those memories because it's important. I want my kids to know that. Sometimes, it's hard. I catch myself, I'm on the phone and my child is saying something. I'm like, oh my God, phone, go away, phone. Let me talk. Let's listen. So I think it's really intentionally and constantly making sure that you are present and, you are not losing sight of what's important. And that's how for me family is. And my family is my rock. My husband throughout this process has been amazing, supportive. And so it's very important to be able to stay connected, because at the end of the day, right, I'm doing this for them, for my children, for my family, to make sure that the narrative is different for them, for the future. And so I want to make sure that I don't want to remember this experience as mommy was always gone or mommy is not like right. I want them to know that I'm there for them in any given time. So it's a balance. It's not easy.
Yeah.
So the question that Trudy and I often get is, how do you make the time? How do you find the time? So I'll give you that question.
There's no time. Time is seriously the most valuable asset we can all have and appreciate. There's no time. Thankfully, like the kids are at school, right? Like it's really being intentional. Like there's no time, there'll never be time. So you have to make the time for everything that you need, that you want to do. And so how do I find the time? Some days I don't sleep. Like last night, I told myself I'm gonna go to bed by midnight. I took 2 days off just to relax. It's my birthday tomorrow. I took 2 days off just to relax and just reset. And I'm ended up working a little bit, but I am trying to make time to be present. Like not stress out about work and not stress about different things. And so you have to make the time, however way you can. Weekends, evenings when the kids are at home, right? You have to make it. There's no time. Sometimes it's lack of sleep. Like some days I usually have crush days. I call them crush days. But I am a person who's always multitasking. When I was in college, I had gazillion things I was doing, right? Paying for school, for grad school. I'm always doing something, and I do dedicate a crush day. Like sometimes I have crush day, like where if I've like maybe survived with 10 hours or 15 hours of sleep in a week, then one day I would just crash and have 10 hours of sleep, right? Or whatever, right? But it's just like a balancing act, honestly, but making sure that it's okay with your family too. I think I try to be mindful. I hope I don't miss it sometimes, but try to be mindful, try to make time, try to make sense of everything and just keep pushing. It's hard. There's no time. It's hectic. It's all over the place, especially with 2 little ones. Oh, it's
What do your readers tell you, both the parents and the children, and even teachers, about your writing, about your books?
It's been one of the most fulfilling experiences when you hear people, when they kind of talk about your book, like what they appreciate about it. I think the biggest part, like just having the diversity in the books is such a big part in the books that I have. And I know people appreciate that. The bright and colorful images, imagery for the kids, just to like really see themselves in the books. It's one of the feedback that I get, as well. And the fact that it's really impactful. They're simple, easy to read, but also very impactful. And I think that's the one thing that I get, which it warms my heart. I think as a writer, when you put your story out there, when you put your soul, part of you out there, it's very hard. It's like, it's you expose yourself to a lot of things, and it's very comforting and encouraging when you receive positive feedback that people really enjoy your book. They learn something. It's engaging for the children. It's nice to see, my children also, like seeing them being empowered. It's very good to see and hear. Yeah, I am grateful.
It seems as if what you were discussing about how you concentrate on the present and learn how to appreciate the present. And that is very evident in the game that the activity that Bill mentioned about recognizing the skin color. There's nothing more present than like seeing a part of yourself, and then how that part compares with others while being very important in itself. It's totally it comes full circle, it seems to me.
Yes, it really does. And thank you for recognizing that. It really does. I think everything has its own part but it does have, it's all coming together, and hopefully, yeah, it's just paving a footprint, right? And sharing the story and creating that legacy, that pathway, and building and inspiring others, to speak up, to use their voice, and to celebrate their stories and who they are. Yeah.
And your voice is your communication, it's your choice, it's your chance, and it's all of that. And I always say, your vote is your voice. You've got to use your voice, otherwise you won't get anywhere. You won't have anything.
No, it's so important, like, to also understand. I think it starts with knowing that you have a voice, like recognizing that as an individual, regardless of who you are or where you come from, you have a voice, and that voice matters. And how we use that voice, in so many ways. We celebrate our voices in so many ways. It's how we show up for ourselves and for others, right? How we stand for others, how we stand for ourselves. And we speak it, we dance it, we celebrate it, we sing it in so many ways. We skate it, right? We run it. Olympics, we're just doing Olympics. And I was learning all these different new sports, right? We do different things to celebrate our voices and who we are. And I think they all matter, right? There's no equal or right way to do it. But as long as you do it and celebrate who you are, I think that's the key. Yeah.
Well, let's do a community assessment with you, Nonku. WZRD Chicago, being a nonprofit radio station, must be responsible to the community we serve. WZRD is mandated to file quarterly issues with the FCC on non-entertainment community-focused programming, and we like to assess the community, like you, for these quarterly issue topics with 3 questions. First, what is most important to you?
A lot of things. Think family, purpose, time, love, happiness. I think those are the key things. I think, yeah, a lot of things. Family, community, how connection, right? I think that those are very important to me.
And second, what long-term problem must we address?
So much to address. I think the biggest problem that I think we should be addressing is equity. Equity and inclusion. I think there's a lot of areas that we have to start thinking about. We have the saying at home that says the Ubuntu, I am because you are. Until we address each other, our humanity, the core values, right? It will be very hard to really. We need to create that future. It will be hard to see that future. So I would say equity is a big part of that. Like, how do we make sure that we all have the right access to care, to healthcare, right? To healthy foods. Like, there's so many things that are basic needs that we still have issues with. And so I would say equity is a big part that we should be addressing and working through. Yeah.
Well, that's that's very deep when you connected the equity with the Ubuntu, because the I am because you are is the you and I are interconnected. There's no sense in trying to disconnect the two of us. It's very beautiful. And isn't Ubuntu? Isn't that the browser name that they chose for their free browser name, Ubuntu?
Yeah, I know, like, I see that Ubuntu, but Ubuntu is just like, Ubuntu is a person. It's it's a Zulu word for person. So Ubuntu or Bantu, it's like a person, it's like people. So Ubuntu is like a noun, like that humanity, that core of it. So I seen like that the web browser, but I know like Ubuntu's been addressed in different formats, but for from that Zulu perspective, Ubuntu means, humanity. I am because you are, breathe the same air, right? Like, we share so many things around us as an environment, and we recognize each other because we're all humans. And so we're very connected, very much so connected. And so it's important for us to address all of these things, because as a person, as a humanity, as people, we need that. We need each other, right? I think COVID showed us how much we need each other, like, right? It's very hard to be isolated because we are connected, and I think that's what's important. That's what we have to recognize. Yeah.
Well, we see that importance of connectedness in your books, in your work.
Yeah, thank you so much.
Finally, the third question is, what problem must be resolved now?
Oh, there's so much that's going on right now around us, right? Bill, you can attest to this. I remember when we had the Rogers Park shooter. What was that? Like, it was like, I think like even like 3 or 4 blocks away from me. I remember going home, like going inside the house and just not feeling safe inside my own home. Like, it was for a brief moment, because as humans, we forget, right? After a while, we forget about some of those things, but like that feeling of unsafe, the feeling of not being at peace with what's around me, it was very hard to bear, and I can't imagine, people living in that fear every single minute of their lives. It is heartbreaking. It is hard. It is truly, truly hard. And I think those are the things that should be addressing right now. We need peace. We need to live freely. We need to have our homes feel free, like peaceful. And so those are the things that I think we should be addressing right now, right now. We should striving for peace, striving for that peace of mind. Like, another example, I'm going to go off track and then I'm going to come back. It just came to mind. I had a friend in college who grew up in Iran. And I remember him telling us, I used to work with him, the grave of shift. Like, I used to work a graveyard shift when I was in college, talk about not sleeping. I'll work at night and then go to school in the morning. But I used to work at graveyard shift in the night, and we'll talk, of course, to pass time. And he would tell me like how, as a child, it was normal for him to just see dead bodies laying around. And he will run around and they will play around like right. Imagine growing up in that, seeing those things as a child. It is so hard. It's so heartbreaking. And so I don't know what and how we can resolve this, but I know it's something that we should be solving. We need to have a place where every human being is living in peace, because I can't imagine every single day, every single second of your life feeling like anything can happen right now. It is not a good place. It is not humane. It is not the right place for our children. It is not the future. And so I am hoping that we are finding ways to solve that problem now. So yeah, I went around with that question, but
Beautiful answer. And we say that in your work, in the books that you write, I celebrate my voice and I celebrate my skin. You are addressing that. You're helping the children appreciate the people that are around them, the differences, the similarities, and helping them to become the great people that they are, and so that the community could keep spreading, and then maybe we could eventually address those problems that you spoke of.
And also thank you for that answer in regards to the Rogers Park killer as well. We both experienced this together, and I've never had to look behind me while I was walking down the street or a sidewalk until that happened. And I'm absolutely with you on that one. Everybody in Rogers Park is, and I love that you used that you said we need peace when it came down to it. Many people say we need justice. Many people talk about crime prevention, but you said we need peace, and we need to we need to feel safe. We do.
We do. it's very important. I mean, I think it's all encompassing, but when you don't have that peace, it's like it's heartbreaking. It's very hard to do anything else, you know, and it's chaos actually, right? It's chaos. Yeah.
Well, Nonku and Bill, thank you so much for joining us on WZRD Chicago 88.3 FM today. And Nonku, we look forward to inviting you and to speak again with us, to interview again with us when your next book comes out, or maybe you have another project. So because you are doing a lot of good work, and who knows, maybe you find an additional ways to connect with the world about your mission for peace.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me here today. I truly appreciate the conversation, learning so much about what you're doing, and thank you for connecting me to this amazing population. And Bill, I mean, what an amazing honor to meet you and connecting with you as well. And I'm truly grateful to be part of such a supportive community. And we love Rogers Park, and I think it's just honestly been a hallmark of our career. Like, we've been here for a long time now. You know, I think it's an amazing place, and it is a diverse place, and I think it speaks a lot to the minds that the people who are here. And so I'm just so grateful to be part of this community, to be part of this, you know, network as well. And so thank you for having me here as well.
Thank you. It's our pleasure.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm also I'm a volunteer, and then I work with Bill, and then I don't even live in Rogers Park, but I so appreciate the community and do as much as I can for Rogers Park.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a great day and be safe.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye. Bye.